What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one breaks down what's going on with NIO stock, what you should be watching for moving forward. I'm also going to talk about the overall market, what news just came out by Jerome Powell, what you should be watching for moving forward in the stock market. I'm going to break down some important news that came out, what is going on with NIO as we have some more bullish news, and why NIO is up another 10% for today, breaking past resistance and continuing to get very close to many of our targets. But before I break anything down about what's going on with NIO, before I talk about why the stock is still looking bullish, let me just mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just 7 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO is up 10.58% for the day, again forming a bullish triangle and continuing to look more and more bullish. But the question is, will NIO continue to pump like this, or could we see a slowdown first before it continues? In my opinion, it's looking very, very strong. There's not really any sign of weakness in this chart just yet. And I believe we have a very, very big catalyst ahead of us that could pump this thing even higher. And we're just going to have to wait and see on that going into next week. But for now, it's very optimistic. It's getting some very, very good upgrades, and it's looking quite nice. So I'm going to break down some news about NIO in just a couple of minutes. Let me just briefly go over what's happening with the overall market, which will affect NIO at least to some degree. Meta had earnings better than expected. Once again, very, very bullish news. And they are also looking very optimistic for Q3. That's also very bullish news for them. That's why Meta is up about 5% of the time I'm recording this. Now, to add on to this, looking at Thursday, we have some GDP numbers coming out and also initial jobless claims that will affect the market this time around. We want initial jobless claims to be a little bit hot or very, very close to expectations, not way too hot or not like way too low, just a little bit hotter than before, because recently it's been quite low and the market wants a little bit more unemployment, as this will in essence dictate the Fed's policies. Now, moving forward, we also have PCE data coming out for tomorrow that's going to be important. But until then, we have the main focus, which is going to be the initial jobless claims 1 hour before the market opens. To add on to this, right, we have Meta and Chipotle all reporting earnings. Meta is the big one I'm watching right now. Then for tomorrow, we have Royal Caribbean Group, we have McDonald's, we have Southwest, MasterCard all in the morning. And then we have, after the market closes, Ford, Intel, Roku, and just a couple of others. Now, let's talk about Jerome Powell. What did the guy say? He was very mixed. Some things he said were hawkish, other things were kind of dovish, other things were bullish, other things were bearish. He said that the Fed has more room to raise rates even more, but they're going to be looking at the data first before making any decisions. He just kept repeating the same thing over and over and over again. It became very, very tedious. Then moving forward, we had Jerome Powell saying the following things. He said that core inflation is still elevated. They need to hold rates high for some time. And policy has not been restrictive enough for long enough. So this is like more bearish stuff that came out. And he basically said that inflation is once again quite resilient, but it is dropping. There's some progress being made. And then he said something bullish, right? So he said some bearish things. Then he said something bullish, which was they're no longer forecasting a recession, but at the same time, there's going to be pain still to come for the job sector and a softening in the labor market. So very mixed stuff. He's saying there's going to be pain, of course, but they're not forecasting a recession. They have to continue to raise rates if the data suggests it, but at the same time, progress is being made. So you can see how he's going back and forth, and the market will choose what to respond by with all of this being said. So just like this person said, Powell just confirmed that yes, they're not necessarily forecasting a recession. They were doing it before, but now they're changing their mind. And then Powell said something else that was kind of bearish or more hawkish, and he said that he does not see inflation back at 2% until 2025, and they won't be cutting rates this year. This is more hawkish, more bearish news that came out by Powell. So it's all mixed. It's all over the place. Some things were good, some things were bad. And once again, I mean, the guy just kind of went in circles the majority of the time. And we will see the reaction tomorrow. Now, as far as NIO goes, there's been some news that came out. Episode 3 of The House of NIO is now live, and they're joining the evangelist Claudio Afonso. Basically, they're going to be talking about an interview and the innovation being made by NIO, and they're going to be talking about the tests and the different things that they're doing all over the world. So very, very cool stuff for NIO. They're continuing to grow on a daily basis. To add on to this, there was some news about new joint ventures to help facilitate EV adoption in the USA. This helps a lot of EVs today. If you look at Rivian, it's up. Lucid is up. NIO is up, but not because of this. Maybe this helped to some degree as the EV sector tends to move in unison, but Tesla was kind of red despite this because Tesla had some negative news. But NIO had even more bullish news, not just for the US. I wouldn't necessarily count the US as good news for NIO, but more towards China. China's continuing to look very optimistic for battery swapping, continuing to maintain policies that are now shifting in favor of the EVs, and they're going to continue to maintain policies like this. On top of this, NIO still has momentum from yesterday because NIO announced they did over 4,700 registrations, or at least that's what was found by the media. 4,700 registrations of NIO cars in just the second or third week of July. So within 1 week, last week, they managed to do that many, which was super bullish news. And they're continuing to look very strong, in my opinion. We're very optimistic for this next deliveries report. If NIO breaks its all-time record, it's on track to doing that. If they manage to break their all-time high in deliveries for the month, it is going to explode in share price. We're going to see some very bullish price action. NIO is getting very, very beautiful volume, 135 million. We're starting to see shorts covering, and we're continuing to see the short volume relative to price go down, which is a bullish signal. To add on to this, JP Morgan is neutral on NIO. We're going to be watching earnings in the next couple of weeks. And then Thursdays tend to be a little bit weak for NIO. They're only green about 51% of the time. Fridays are green about 53% of the time. Historically, July tends to be a good month for them, and so far it's been a pretty darn good month for NIO. And to add on to all of this, if you look at the short interest, we are seeing more shorts starting to pile into NIO, but this was just like 2 days ago. We saw more of them piling in. But if NIO continues to pump, we're going to see shorts cover, which is going to help this thing pump even higher and cause a potential short squeeze. That's why a short squeeze is possible for NIO as long as they keep doing well. And I want the shorts to be very careful because in the next couple of days, okay, we're going to be approaching August 1st. And when August comes, if NIO reports their deliveries and they absolutely kill it, so far they're on track for killing it. They did almost 5,000 deliveries in just 1 week in July. And keep in mind, we want to do at least over like 10,000. They've already done half of that in just 1 week, and they're more than 4 weeks, a little bit more than like 4 weeks worth of time for the month of July, right? They're 31 days instead of 28. So it's like we have about like 4.5 weeks almost in the month of July. NIO has a lot of time, a lot of potential, and I'm expecting some very good numbers for August. I think this may help the thing absolutely explode. From a technical standpoint, check this out, guys. NIO is looking really good. We're forming this very nice looking accumulation. It's kind of like very, very big. I'm kind of zooming out a lot just to get there, but you could see it reach this $13 level. But besides that, we have some resistance in the 13, so I could see NIO kind of like get a rejection here, possibly maybe cool off a little bit because we have some heavy resistance right there. But once we get past the 13s, we're going to be watching this thing fight this resistance around 14. Then we have this 15 area. After that, we have like 17. And once it's above these resistance levels, it could be well on its way to $22. We could see NIO all the way up to 22 if it keeps going. It looks very, very good. I'm gonna have to pull up the daily chart because I can't zoom in enough. If you look at it, it looks very, very nice. Very nice looking bullish divergence that formed. Nice uptrend, and it's just getting started. If this thing keeps going for the next month to month and a half, I wouldn't rule out $22 for NIO. It could absolutely explode. Absolutely explode. But you got to be patient, and so far, so good for the stock. All right. So basically, that's what I have for NIO. It's looking more bullish. I could be anticipating a small cool off though, because we do have some resistance in this 13 area. So it is possible that it kind of like retests about 12.9 and tries to bounce. It's going to likely gap up to about like 13.5 or so, maybe almost $14, then come down and retest 13.8, if not 13 flat, and then get a nice bounce afterwards. That's what it's been doing. Like yesterday, for example, it gapped up, then it came down, then it bounced. It may do the same thing tomorrow, gap up, then come down and bounce. But it's continuing to uptrend, and I think it's looking very good approaching the big event and earnings. So I'm still leaning more bullish. I think NIO has a lot of potential, and I can't wait for what the future holds. For Tesla, I'm not sure about how Tesla is going to move. It's very tight right now. Powell's words were just all over the place. We're going to see which direction the market chooses to move in, because Powell was just saying some dovish things and hawkish things at the same time. And he kept saying the Fed is going to react to data. So if we're bullish on Tesla, you're going to be watching 266. If that breaks, there's 268, 270, then 272, and 275. If we break down, you're going to be watching support at 262.5, 261.75, 260, 258, and then 255. What does my gut tell me? Well, I'm kind of in the middle. I just don't know exactly how we're going to interpret Powell's words. The guy was just flip flopping all over the place. Uh, but the thing is, we also have Meta's earnings, which has been more positive. So there's a good chance the market's going to try to hold up at least a little bit. Kind of read in the after hours. For SPY, you're going to be watching 456 as resistance, 457 after that, 457.5, 458, and beyond those levels. If we break down, you're going to be watching 454 flat, 453.5, and below that, there's 452.69, followed by the 450 area if that breaks. So it could go either way. We're just going to be watching these levels. I'm just not so sure how the market's going to interpret Powell's words. He was all over the place. For the QQQ, you're going to be watching 380 as resistance. 382 will come after that if we break. If we break below this level, watch 375 as major support below 376.75. And if 375 fails us, there's 374 flats and then 373 for the gap fill. I'm still in the middle for the QQQ, so we'll see how the market responds. Powell did say some hawkish things. I don't know if the market's going to like fall based off those, or if the market's going to take into account the bullish things he said. So we're kind of in the middle for the market, but I think NIO, if anything, could cool off just a tiny bit because of the resistance we're going to see around this 13 area. Maybe it gaps up in the morning, gets close to 14, then it comes right back down. And then it just temporarily cools off a bit, trades sideways before trying to make its way back up. And I do think NIO is going to hold up. And I think approaching the big deliveries report, I think NIO has the potential to absolutely explode. So I'm still leaning more bullish on NIO. I think we could see this thing approach the $22 level over the next month and a half. And I think it's very possible this thing could keep going. But until the time comes, for NIO to report its deliveries, remain calm, cool, and collected, and do what you have to do. Thank you for listening. Have a good one, everyone. NIO to the moon as the long term is very bright, and peace out.